Assassin's Creed has had a lot of villains, both great and terrible. And whilst the protagonists of the series are often given the most attention, many of the villains stand as fantastic in their own right. In some cases, the villain of an Assassin's Creed game can redeem the whole game from being terrible. So today, let's have a look at which villains are the best. Which antagonists stand as the most memorable in the Assassin's Creed series. Before we do get into the video, it would really be appreciated if you could hit like, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe with post notifications turned on. At number 5, we have Rodrigo Borgia, the antagonist of Assassin's Creed 2 and the secondary antagonist of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, the Spaniard, the man responsible for the death of Ezio's family in Assassin's Creed 2. Rodrigo Borgia, from the moment we see him in Uberto Alberti's study, stands as a looming presence throughout the entirety of Ezio's journey throughout Italy. Feeling like this omnipresent, untouchable force that has all the power in Italy, but never reveals himself for enough time to be a target. This level of power, combined with minimal screen time, gives the character a Darth Vader effect, which makes him feel like a genuinely intimidating and near unstoppable force. Rodrigo, being the same age as Ezio's father, leads their conflict to feel like a true David and Goliath story, as this lonesome 17-year-old tries to take on a seemingly infinitely wealthy and powerful family, and a man who has the entire force of Italy behind him. Rodrigo is motivated nearly entirely by the desire for power, the desire to strike down his enemies and conquer the entirety of Italy. But this motivation is executed in methodical ways. He never lets rage take over him, and he's never unjustly evil. He's simply an image of tyrannical power behind the scenes, pulling the strings of society as is the Templars' intention. But because of this, the conflict between himself and Ezio can feel somewhat lacking at times, as nothing Rodrigo does to Ezio is ever personal. And so although Ezio has an emotional connection to Rodrigo, the same doesn't really go the other way around. However, this facet of his character does make Rodrigo a bit of a more empathetic character, as he doesn't necessarily have malicious or bad intentions. However, of course his desire for power does lead to malicious actions, which is an inner character contrast that makes his death in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood a fairly emotional one, especially as Ezio gives him his respect after sparing him years earlier. At number 4, we have Basim Ibn Ishaq, who I consider to be the main antagonist of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, although the amount of antagonists in Assassin's Creed Valhalla kind of makes it hard to narrow that down. Although Alfred is written and performed to perfection, I would argue that he isn't present long enough in the game to truly act as the main villain. Basim, on the other hand, is present from the moment the game begins, initially presenting himself as an ally to Eivor and Sigurd, and lulling the player into a false sense of security, as of course he's an assassin, and as the player would assume, the assassins are the good guys. However, Basim's intentions are immediately questionable after he gifts Eivor a hidden blade, and takes on some questionable actions throughout the game. It creates a mystery that is progressively uncovered by the animus fragments, the mythological sections, and of course Sigurd's fall into madness. The idea of sages, Isu, who had passed on their genetic information to humans, was a massively interesting one when it was introduced back in Assassin's Creed 4. However, I don't think it was ever executed quite as well as it was in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, as the line between Basim and Loki is so thin that you can never truly understand the man you're talking to, making him almost terrifying in his ability to manipulate. On top of that, on a physical level, thanks to his assassin training, and presents Eivor with an emotional and physical struggle, which in the end leaves Basim the victor, falling out of the Tree of Life and stepping out into the modern day world. I'm honestly very interested to see where the storyline of Assassin's Creed Valhalla takes Basim next, and I do think he is one of the biggest redeeming factors of Assassin's Creed Valhalla on a whole. At number 3, we have Mualim. Altair's mentor from the time he was a boy, the leader of the Levantine assassins, a man who's potentially a sage, a manipulative dictator who plays both sides of the Crusades in order to benefit himself and his own. Taking control of the Brotherhood and eventually taking control of the Apple of Eden, Mualim would craft a small army for himself, an army that would bend to his every will. And adding the abilities and tricks that the Apple of Eden gave him, he became an intensely tough opponent. And on top of that, from a moral and ethical point of view, he's a fascinating character, as he betrays any ideas of personal connection or care, taking on his best and longest student without any hesitation, willing to do whatever it would take to take control of the Holy Land and understand the secrets of the Peace of Eden. His discussions with Altair in reference to the Assassin v Templar conflict, the conflict of the Europeans and the Middle Easterns, and the entire idea of human morality and conflict are fascinating, and add a massive amount of depth to their final confrontation at the end of Assassin's Creed 1, which is added to even more by the Altair content in Assassin's Creed Revelations. Mualim is a fantastic and forgotten character, and most importantly, he has the best beard in the entirety of gaming. At number 2, we have Haytham Kenway, who in all honesty has an unfair advantage against most villains in the series, given that we play as him for half of Assassin's Creed 3, as well as have an entire novel dedicated to his inner monologue. However, even if you look at Haytham in a vacuum in Assassin's Creed 3 in his Connor segments, he provides fantastic contrast to the idealistic tunnel vision that Connor holds throughout the entire game, presenting a perspective on the world that is more akin to reality, and presenting a perspective of the Templars which goes above and and beyond simply them being evil and desperately wanting tyrannical power, instead shifting their views to that of order and peace. Of course, this could be written off as just villain monologuing, but considering the entire first 4 sequences of Assassin's Creed 3 are spent playing as Haytham, and most players didn't even realize he was a Templar until the reveal, just shows that his perspective on the Templar Order and philosophy is a genuine one, and that there are a lot of interlinking elements between that and that of the Assassins. On top of that, the story of Haytham's life is fantastic, with the details of the Forsaken novel truly revealing why Haytham converted to the Templars, and why he stands by them to the end of his life. And on top of that, his willingness to sacrifice himself in order to protect his principles, his values, and his friend is honourable to the point that I'd call it a redemption arc. Haytham is easily the best part of Assassin's Creed 3, and in my opinion he is one of the best characters in the entire series. But he cannot quite top number 1, Cesare Borgia, the true antithesis to Ezio Auditore, the ultimate opponent to the most iconic assassin, the ordeal, the greatest and most difficult challenge Ezio faces. A man with the infinite power and wealth of his father, but entirely lacking the humanity and empathy that his father had. Cesare's desire for power goes beyond Rodrigo. It goes beyond Rome, it goes beyond Italy, it goes beyond Europe. Cesare wants to rule the world and will do anything to get there. Acting as the near physical opposite to Ezio in every single way, nearly the same age, same build, and having been groomed to be the leader of the military since he was a child, Cesare is a terrifying opponent, a near moral, ethical, and physical opposite to Ezio. A domineering force like his father, but one that is present in combat, one that is malicious, one that is vicious, one that is ruthless, one that has no boundaries and shows no mercy. A man that doesn't fear death, a man that in many ways has nothing to lose, and a man that refuses to back down even when he's lost. Cesare is an incredible villain from the moment he's introduced in Monteriggioni to the moment he's killed in Vienna, and the personal conflict between him and Ezio feels wrapped around the entirety of Brotherhood's narrative. The two feel constantly, inextricably linked, and it feels almost prophesized that one of them will eventually kill the other. He is the Voldemort to Ezio's Harry Potter, he is the Joker to Ezio's Batman, and he is the best villain in the entirety of Assassin's Creed. But of course that is just my opinion, and I'm sure plenty of people will disagree with me, so let me know, do you agree, do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit like, and if you're new here and want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe with post notifications turned on. And with all that being said, I've been Joe, aka Founder Scarab, and I will see you in the next one.
It seems your tongue has tasted sour grapes. The people have made their choice, and it was Washington.
People chose nothing. It was done by a group of privileged cowards seeking only to enrich themselves. They convened in private and made a decision that would benefit them. Oh, they might have dressed it up with pretty words. That does not make it true.